you, first of all, to all the devotees who have organized this evening's conversation. Um, I'm grateful to all of you for this opportunity. Um, we are all fellow travelers on the same path, and it's always delightful to get together with the Satsangis and share our common journey and our common goal, which is Swami. I must confess that this has been a journey of which I would pick up the title from Dr. Brian Weiss's book, Many Lives, Many Masters. Okay, essentially because by training as a little boy with my parents, they had their own guru. I was trained in that school as I grew up, and so going to an ashram was early part of my life, and following the discipline of the ashram was became a routine in life, actually, because one thing happened after the other in succession. So it has essentially been an amalgam of many journeys, I must say, ultimately culminating at the lotus feet of Swami. Very early on, I learned that Guru is not in the physical form. Guru is a Tatwa. He is the energy manifest. He may come into your life in a physical form for a certain period, and then disappear from your journey, physical journey, as the Guru himself chooses, or the Lord himself chooses. There's a very beautiful saying by Lao Tzu, who says that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And when the student is truly ready, the teacher disappears. So that's exactly how it has happened insofar as my spiritual journey with Swami has sort of occurred. I only came to his lotus feet in 1998. Fairly young in my, I think many years later than some of the other devotees who may be on the chat or the conversation today. But it has been a tremendous journey, a very uplifting journey, a deeply spiritual experience, I must say. So, as I said, Guru is essentially a Tattva. And, we all went through very difficult time when Swami physically left us. I must share something with you, which I could only identify almost 2 years after Swami had left physically. Shortly after Swami left his physical being, I must tell you, I lost both my parents at a very young age. And when I came to Swami's lotus feet after many other spiritual journeys, I took him like my father and mother both. Okay. So for me, he was the ultimate presence in my life, insofar as my physical journey was concerned. So I think, although I was steadfast and very bold to take that date of 24th of April 2011, but I think deep down somewhere there was a deep scar, I must say. And suddenly 2-3 months shortly after that date, my right knee started paining. So I sort of, I said, nothing has hurt my knee. And I must tell you this story because this is how I want to connect it with Guru Tatwa. How you're connected with him and how it deeply emotionally affects you. So I went to for 9 months, I went through excruciating pain. Suddenly, I must say I was 10 years younger than what I am today. And with no other external sort of injury to be seen, it suddenly started paining. I went to every specialist in city, so much so a doctor in Max, Saket, told me that we will have to open your knee and do a surgery. So I just came back home and I said, this is it. This is at such a young age, if I have to go for a knee surgery, how is this going to, I mean, how is it going to be the journey for the rest of life? Thereafter, Swami sent somebody's presence into my life. A very dear friend of mine who was a doctor in Africa, also a very, very spiritual person. He works for WHO. And so he came and he called me and he said, why don't we do coffee together? I said, sure. So we got together for a coffee, I think somewhere here in Khan Market or somewhere in Delhi. And I told him, I said, listen, I have this excruciating pain in my right knee. And, I've tried everything. I've used all the painkillers. What's happening here? And, he just in the middle of the conversation, he says, have you had some deep loss in your life? So I said, yes, if you really ask me, I've had a very, very deep loss. And he knew my journey with Swami. So he says, no, it'll get fine. Don't stop taking all medications. I said, what are you talking? I can't even walk without medication. He says, no, you stop taking any medication. This is actually an emotional shock that you have gone through. It's your deep connect with the source, which has sort of snapped physically, and therefore this has happened to you. Therefore, coming back to what I had started with, that Guru is actually a Tatwa who we need to connect with. And today, if you ask me, do I miss Swami in the physical form? A certain level, yes, in terms of interactions. But I feel his presence all the time. I don't miss him in the way that I used to yearn earlier to, pre-2011 days when, one would look at the first opportunity to run to Puttaparthi and see him, because I'm connected with him at an emotional level, at a different level altogether. And I find that I find great comfort and solace in that. So he was the one who found me. He came into my life when I was ready to receive him in my life. And he sort of went away physically, so to say, when probably he had got his student ready for something else. So, and what that plan is, obviously, he's the master planner, so he knows what that plan is, and that's where I would like to leave it at. The connect at the Atman level, so to say, is very, very important, and has been very, very important for me. And I think the great address of Sai Ishvara, so to say, I was looking for a verse today that how do I describe this immense relationship, and I will make an attempt to recite this for you. Pardon me for all those who are rich Vedic scholars here if my pronunciation is not correct, but I will make an attempt here. And the verse is goes like this. It says, Anoren Nyan Meheto Mahiyanatma Guhyam Nihitasya Janto, which basically means the Atman, which is smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest, abides in this living being in the cave of our heart. So essentially, once you reside him in your heart, I think he doesn't go away anywhere. And therefore, I think it's important that what we connect with in our lives, and I think I have found a great, great connection with Swami through my heart. And that's why when Kiranji called me, I said, there's no need of any introduction. This is a heart-to-heart relationship. What possible introduction can be given to this relationship? You see, when the divine comes to your life, he leaves several signs in your journey, uh, what we often term as miracles. I don't want to use the word miracle for Swami because this life is a miracle in itself, So, really speaking, that's a too small a word for the divinity that pervaded amidst us and the way we experienced him around us. The love, the energy that we felt in his divine presence and beyond, if you really ask me today. So, but I must say that in that early years when I just came to Swami, being a lawyer, you always have this rational mind. You want to question everything. It's not that you want to accept things as they are or as told. And I in a way used to very early on used to read Jiddu Krishnamurti and others, and he said, unless you have experienced it yourself, don't accept it, so to say. So I will narrate two very, very mundane and funny incidents, I must say. As a young person 20 years ago, what would go through a young person's mind. I am just going to share those two sort of experiences with you. I think the number one is very, very funny. I must say, I was trying to use Swami for a very mundane stuff. I was a young backpacker in Paris. I had flown from London to Paris. I was a student then. I think this is about 21 years ago. And I had to catch a flight next morning at 7:50 to Paris. I asked my bell desk at my hotel. I said, what's the best way to get, you're on a shoestring budget when you're a student. So you want to experience your backpacker. And so I asked him, I said, so what's the fastest way to get to the airport? And he said that, only 20 feet away is the metro station. You please go, you get up at 4:45, you go there and you buy the ticket and get down, and that will take you straight to the airport. I said, fine. And I sort of, I told him, should I go now and book a ticket in advance, or can I buy a ticket in advance? Because morning, you don't know. So, and he said, at this hour, I think it is at 5:15 or 5:20, he said it's a 45-minute journey. You need to take this 5:15 journey. So I got up at 4:15, got ready, everything checked out. I go to the station, and I find that there is no vending machine for me to buy the ticket, and there is nobody at the vending station, no officer sitting at the vending station to give me a ticket. And 5:20 arrives, and I hear standing at the vending station, a train passing by underneath in the subway. I said, well, my flight is gone. I'll have to now book another flight. And shortly thereafter, somebody just walks in, and I'm saying, Swami, what is this? How will I buy another ticket? I have to get to London, and I'm in my mind, I'm sort of complaining to him like any child would to his parent, and shortly thereafter, somebody arrives and he says, I said, when is this going to open? He said at 6:15. So I said, well, today the flight is definitely gone. I'm not going to catch this flight. So he says, but you come in. So they put two tokens, and she passed and I passed as well. And I was able to catch this 5:30 train to an intermittent station where I had to be. And I'm telling Swami, please make this happen, because see what kind of ask you have on your Lord. And I'm saying, Swami, please help me now. I have to get this flight, So I get to the next station where I have to make an interchange to take the flight to the airport, to the Paris airport. And there I find that as soon as I get down to do a connect, all the gates are open like this, and there is no ticket which I need to buy now and put it and put a token and pass through. So next thing I said, thank you, Swami, thank you for making this happen. I'm on to my next train. Now This is a very, very, very bad thing. I must say, as a lawyer, I should not have done this. But I'm here on the next train even now without buying any ticket because I'm in a rush to get to the airport. Okay, and I finally reached the Paris airport and station. I get down and I find that, and I sort of, everybody's following a certain path, and I sort of, go upstairs through one of the passages where one or two people are just walking up, and I just follow them. And I am actually landing up on the outside where there's no ticket checking, whereas I find on the other side where everybody had to pass through, there's a ticket checking happening. So, anyways, thank you, Swami, for making me board that flight in time. I just ran to the gate and I got that flight. So I'm just saying these little things, when you're early on in your journey, you sort of do this kind of play with your master, with your parent, with your whoever whatever you take him as. So that's one sort of experience that I was wanting to share with you. The other one was I've been very fond of Swami's black and white photographs, and I went to Prashanti, and by the time I sort of came to his lotus feet, I think most of the black and white photographs were gone from any vendors outside or inside. It's now where Radio Sai and others have now started developing old photographs, and so I had a very, very strong desire uh, to buy a photograph of Swami in black and white because they're all A from his younger days, and some of them are fantastic. And so I sort of I came very disappointed during my second trip, saying that I have not been able to buy a black and white photograph. So I'm just sharing with you what kind of mundane things one goes through in those initial years, and what kind of asks you have from the Lord. And I said, I haven't got this photograph. So I came back to Delhi, and come August, my sister she used to live in Mumbai. And so Ganesh Chaturthi time, I flew that night from Delhi. I remember very vividly. And they had a huge house. My brother-in-law had a huge house which had a garden outside, and in the garden was an old banyan tree. So next morning I get up, I sit out in the garden, and I'm just sitting, and it seems that something is flashing from the banyan tree. Now this is very interesting. So I said, what is it? So after I finish my cup of tea, I get up, and it was an old banyan tree. So you actually make that periphery, and you make some steps to get onto it. So I actually got onto the tree, and I looked inside, and I find, lo and behold, a photograph of Swami in black and white in his Abhyasta. And I quickly picked it up, and I sort of, brought it inside into my room. I didn't, I, my sister was, I think, in the passageway somewhere. I didn't even greet her. I just went to the room, and I was so surprised that this thing had happened with me, that I had wanted the black and white photograph. And Swami was so kind that he has now even fulfilled this wish of mine to get me a black and white photograph, and that also so beautifully. And that photograph I still have to this date, because it's like Vishnu in water. It has layers of vibhuti like this, which is, and Swami is standing in that. And I just inquired around that, because it was an enclosed garden which was private to this premises where they used to live. So I wondered who had put that photograph there. So I made some discreet inquiries around with servants and all, that is there anybody who's a Sai Baba devotee here? And the answer was obviously no. And that's how I acquired my first black and white photograph of Swami. He actually gave it to me, to be honest. I wanted to say that these are all signs of his divine presence, which we often term as miracles. But I think he at the start of your journey, he's actually affirming that I am there, and I am with you. When you say omnipresent, omniscient, actually he shows all that in reality, and you sort of experience that Um, and you know, it's so comforting because today when you remember him, you know, it's just so beautiful. And those, so I was thinking before the chat when we had a conversation, I said, what should I share? I thought I'll share these two. One very silly ask, I must say, and the other one which was something very deeply I wanted, and I got it. Thank you. I would say three things essentially: um, simplicity, patience, and compassion. I think an amalgam of that in the form of gratitude. You know, I think Sai in his first avatar taught us Sharda and Saburi. So if you ask me today, what is it that at least I want to practice or I practice? I want to basically have my own definition of Soham, so to say, and I can share it with you if you allow me. My definition of Soham is that you inhale sabr. Sabr means patience. And you exhale shukr, means you exhale gratitude and thankfulness. Inhale sabr and exhales shukr. कि हर सांस में तू मुझे सब्र दे और हर सांस जो बाहर आ रहा है उसमें मैं तेरा शुक्रिया करूं. ऐसे जीवन बिताने में ही एक चेष्टा रहनी चाहिए और ये चेष्टा मैं करता हूं. You see, there's a very beautiful line in Gurbani. It says, सांस सांस सिमरो गोविंद. कि हर सांस में ग्रैटिट्यूड किस तरह देना है. लेट्स आस्क आवरसेल्व्स कि ग्रैटिट्यूड कैसे देना है. सांस सांस सिमरो गोविंद, कि मैं हर सांस के साथ हे गोविंद तेरा नाम लूं. मन अंतर की उतरे चिंत. वो क्या करता है अगर आप सांस सांस में गोविंद का नाम लेते हैं कि जो मन के अंतःकरण में जो कश्मकश है उसकी जो चिंता है वो हमेशा के लिए मिटा देता है. This is what the Lord does. And I have also another definition. I was at the beginning of this conversation, I was going to say Happy Guru Purnima to all of you. Because every day for a sadhak, for a student of Sai is a Guru Purnima. It is not some celestial combination of stars in a Shada month that, according to me, can only be celebrated as Guru Purnima. Every day in the life of a Sai sadhak is a Guru Purnima. ये अटूट रिश्ता है, ये अटूट बंधन है और ये अटूट प्रेम है. इसलिए will you not express gratitude on any other day of except Guru Purnima day and Ashada? The answer is no. So let us celebrate every day a day of joy with Swami, day of his blessing, day that you have given us this life breath, that we get up every morning and we express our gratitude to you, because that is the gratitude we do on Guru Purnima day. No. That is only one day in 365 days. Guru Purnima is every day in our life. Every day when we get up in the morning is the full moon day in our life, in the life of a Sai sadhak. It is not any one particular day. Therefore, we need to live in gratitude. We must live in gratitude because he is the life breath which we breathe in and out every moment. Okay? And if he is the life breath and he is that Tatwa, he is that energy, he is that Atman, then should we not celebrate it every day? Why every day? Every moment of it. Therefore, I think it's very important that we understand that while he may have left us physically, he remains the center point of our life. He remains our life breath for whatever breath is left on this planet for rest of our life. What should we ask our Lord Sai is what these lines really tell us. So if nobody has any questions, then I will probably end with those lines, if you like. What I wanted to share with you today is also a very, very beautiful verse, which some of you are recipient. I have sent you, I think, some months back. But, the name of Sai, the word Sai, the origins of Sai comes from the times of Dwapar Yuga. If you really ask me, because Krishna was called Gosai. And so that's where the origins of the word Sai comes from. Some 500 years ago, if you ask me, the word Sai was very, very prominently used in the Guru Bani, by Guru Nanak and the 9 gurus that followed thereafter. I would say the 8 gurus that followed thereafter. And the beautiful, beautiful Shabad, which encapsulates what a devotee must ask from his beloved Sai. Okay, it says, should I recite it? And I'll explain you. I will recite it and then I'll explain it to you, what it means. Okay, and the line goes like this: Tum karo daya mere Sai. तुम करो दया मेरे साईं, ऐसी मत दीजिए मेरे ठाकुर, ऐसी मत दीजिए मेरे ठाकुर, मैं सदा सदा तुझ ध्याई. What should a devotee ask from his beloved Sai? कि ऐसी कृपा करो मेरे ऊपर तुम साईं. तुम करो दया मेरे साईं, वेरी सिंपल लाइन, मीन्स मेरे पर तुम ऐसी कृपा करो साईं, मुझे ऐसी सद्बुद्धि देना कि मेरे ठाकुर, मुझे ऐसी सद्बुद्धि देना आप कि मैं सदा सदा सिर्फ तुम्हें ही दिखाऊं, मैं सदा सदा तुझ ध्यान. So these are sort of, profound teachings that we learn from our scriptures. तुम करो दया मेरे साईं, तुम करो दया मेरे साईं, ऐसी मत दीजिए मेरे ठाकुर, सदा सदा तुझ ध्यान. This is what I ask from you, my Lord, कि मुझे ऐसी सद्बुद्धि देना कि मैं सिर्फ और किसी को याद ना करूं, सिर्फ तुम्हें याद करूं. This should be a prayer of gratitude, love, affection for our Lord. Thank you very much.